Welcome to part 3 of the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry research. Please verify and corroborate this information to see that it's true. So we're now back within the Tollgate company, which is linked to Ricky Dearman. I'm not saying Ricky Dearman or any of these individuals that we're showing are directly linked in any fraud or child trafficking. However, they are unquestionably linked through Companies House to this system of fraud and child trafficking, as I was unknowingly connected. Maybe these people are unknowingly connected. You can see this person links to City Cakes Company Limited, still active within the company. This is the overview page for that company, and you can see that they have the same name that features throughout the fraud. Michael John Hope and London Law Agency were limited, which is an illegal entity company, and that's because if you go and search the London Law Agency on the Companies House registration system, the incorporation document for the company actually states that it's Ganvillon Motors, and that has not been registered on the record for the company. I suspect this is possibly a forged document. You can see the misalignment in the title. This is what we see a lot. I mean, this isn't a brilliant example, but there are better ones. It's not in the center. There's normally a line going across the middle of that top box here, and quite often you'll find with a lot of these companies linked to the fraud that line is either partly removed or removed altogether, and the company name has been placed not centrally or not straight, etc. And the address, as you can see, Temple Chambers, Temple Way, features throughout the fraud as well. And not just for one company, okay? Remember, they're using the same addresses throughout. Despite what somebody said in a recent interview, they're using and chopping and changing the addresses and using them throughout the fraud. And back into the company now, Tollgate, you can see Reverend, okay, a Reverend. Now remember, with the child abuse inquiry, the children claimed that we don't forget, we're within the same company that Ricky Dearman was linked to, okay, as a director. Now we've got a Reverend, and remember, we had supposedly the allegations of abuse were in a school, but also in a church. And when you go into, at the bottom there, just to state he's a Church of England minister. Now back into, I've jumped a bit here, back into Marta Rose, okay, we've got Public Sector Audit Limited. Sorry, Public Sector Audit Appointments Limited. And so Marta was the first one within the company that we looked at, okay, so we went into Marta from that company. And we've got Chartered Accountants Compensation Scheme Limited. Now, of course, accountants would be key to this system of fraud to falsify use the forged documents to falsify companies' details. So that's what I found appeared to be happening with our accountant. And we'll come to a link. I believe there's a link to our accountant's address in a minute or a bit later. And on the incorporation document, you can see the address that's used a lot. Again, Gresham Street. But again, different numbers. They change the numbers but use the same addresses or same roads. And on the incorporation document, we have Capita Group PLC. That's an illegal entity company. I believe it's that one. And you'll see Capita featuring throughout the fraud. And again, you've got an Opera company, Opera 80 Limited. But that is an illegal entity company, Capita. I don't think I've shown the research, but you'll see it on the other documents. Just looking at the other parts of this form. Okay. And on the bottom of the form, you've got the links to all the banks. Look, so international banking fraud. Many of the banks will have illegal entity companies again. And of course, their solicitors will know what they're part of, or their legal team or their financial advisors. They'll know what they're being part of. Most of them, I would think. So we've got banks now linked to that. And just to confirm, Capita links to Finchley Road again. And also Jeremy Hunt, the research in relation to Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And you can go and look at the document for Jeremy Hunt in the document file. It also links to Alpha Formations. Then the Alpha Formations Also to Bournemouth Court, again, my area where this started. So the court system in Bournemouth links through, and also to Sabre Fund Management Group. Okay, there's very quick links to to Douglas Smith, who is the special advisor for Rishi Sunak and for many of the last few prime ministers. And that links to BCP Council. So we're still looking at alpha searches, the previous research, and you can see from the Jeffrey Epstein research. So if you go into the Jeffrey Epstein document, you will see that alpha formations also links to that. And Chettleberg's, which is an illegal entity company as well. So you follow the chain of evidence, it leads to an unregistered illegal entity company. Back into Marta Rose, and you can see we've got the Association of Accounting Technicians, another accounting company. We've got the Pensions Advisory Service. Remember, pensions are heavily linked to this. In fact, around the directed energy weapons concerned, links to the Russian UK company. Remember, there was a pooling pensions fund around the royal family. So they're pooling the pensions together. What does that tell you? My concerns of the depopulation, possibly. That could be very relevant. So National Housing Federation linked to the same person. And you've also got the London Diocesan Fund, okay? So we're not very far away at all from Ricky Dearman, and we've now got another connection to a church network. And they are not registered correctly. So there's no "the," okay, on either side of the company name. You can see there, London Diocesan Fund. But on the register, we've got London Diocesan Fund with brackets "the" afterwards. Well, that's not there, is it? And of course, Companies House would have had this document and have decided not to put that or to change it. So it's a deliberate forgery. Now we've got another Reverend, obviously linked to there. Of course, you'll have a Reverend. And he was appointed in September 2022. I started reporting the fraud in July 2022, and he's still active. Whether he's a real person or not, I don't know. But then we've got St Paul's Cathedral Foundation. And that has come up in my previous research. Actually, I haven't focused on it much, but you have got St Paul's Cathedral Foundation again. The address there is used, Chapter House, for different companies. That was incorporated in July 2000. And you can see it's got Chettleberg's on its incorporation document. And the address features throughout. Temple House. So Chettleberg's. So yeah, just showing you that Chettleberg's links to Jordan's and Sons again, which is Jordan's basically, an illegal entity company from the previous research. And Chettleberg's also links to Amazon UK Services Limited. And it links to Jeffrey Epstein again, the research which we've already mentioned. And to Capita. It also links to Louise Smith, the head of Companies House, the research surrounding Louise Smith, and a company called Merivale Limited. And it links to Connor Burns research. Okay, Connor Burns is the MP, one of the MPs for Bournemouth in Dorset. Before we move on, I'm just going to show some other research from the same management company. So this is the one that Ricky Dearman was linked to. And we're going to go and see how it links to my company and some other very interesting associations. So we've got this company. So we've gone, I don't know where we've gone into actually. Oh, via Marta Rose again, who we've already gone into. And we've got Newton Riding. And again, this address, 1 Vincent Square, features throughout. And on the incorporation document, you've got London Law Agency again, so a legal entity company. And notice the different typo, okay, in the company name. So that appears to have been entered afterwards. Again, the lines are missing from the inside. Dockland Stable Management Limited. And you can see they're also London Law Agency on them. UK Highways Management Services. a PO box number. Why did I put that on there? I'm not too sure why I put this on there. I'm just having a read. I noticed the addresses are the same ones used. It's got OYEs, okay. So gone into... Where have we gone in through? Michael John Hope. Sorry, just trying to see where we are. Okay, I seem to have not shown a connection there, so might not worry about that too much. We've got UK Highways M40, so I must have gone in and found through the last company and found Michael John somebody. And then we've got UK Highways M40 Holdings. And you can see how they've changed their name at the bottom. Can you see that? This is quite a good example. So U.K.Highways, and then they changed it. So they had that from August 94 to July 96. And then they changed it from July 96. They just removed the dots. Okay, so this is how important the dots are. And this is a classic example. And they know that. And that's why they've changed the dots. So that's why when you see a slight change on the register, it's very significant. And it creates all the difference. And of course they are, well, not of course, but they are the same company that started up mine, Swift. And Jordan's and Son will be hand in hand with that. And back into Marta Rose, I think we might have mentioned this National Housing Federation Limited. Might have mentioned that a minute ago anyway. But we'll have a little look anyway on the overview. And again, you can see the changes in name. Look, it was the National Federation of Housing Association, in brackets. Then they changed it in 96, slightly, to National Housing Federation. And then in 2014, changed it to National Housing Federation Limited. So very slight changes. Into the National Housing, we've got Ruth Cook. And we've got Clarion Treasury Limited. Now, Clarion is an interesting one. I'd never heard of it before, but someone emailed me recently. I'm being inundated from people who now understand how serious this all is. You can see the address there, London Place. Okay, that features throughout. And again, it's not just with the same company. It's with multiple different companies. It's used throughout and different numbers of more. So you'll have 1 more, 3 more, 4 more. I think I've seen more than that? I don't know. This is a different one. Level 6 more, London Place. Dear idea. Clarion Treasury, here we go. Limited. And they, on their incorporation, Educational Trust, Devonshire's Foundation. And I think you've got Devonshire's solicitor somewhere. It must be on the next page. Salisbury House at the bottom there, that's another location that they use frequently. That was it. On the first page you had Devonshire Solicitors. I knew I'd put this for a reason. So how does that? There you go. Devonshire Solicitors. Links to my child abuse and concern research to Blake, particular solicitor. Now this becomes important later, because that solicitor links to Biscoe's solicitors firm on the Isle of Wight, or near the Isle of Wight. Can't remember where they're based, but they link in. So we'll come to that later. So now we've got a connection to the child abuse case that I was helping with the child on the Isle of Wight. Remember, we are not very far away at all from Ricky Dearman, and we're already getting connections now back down to the same child abusing case that I was trying to help with in the Isle of Wight. Back into Clarion. And we've got Spectrum now. Okay, now I know Spectrum because it was in the area where I used to work and where I policed. Here we are, Grange Road, Christchurch in Dorset. I used to police that area, so I was in Bournemouth and then I was in Christchurch. And now we have a link again to the area where I used to work. Spectrum Premier. And they were called Western Challenge Services. And here they are. And again, Jordan's and Sons Limited, the same address as Jordan's. And also you've now got a connection to Leicester Aldridge. Leicester Aldridge Solicitors associates very quickly to the area of Bournemouth. And a lot of the companies there, you'll see that on my BCP Council document. And just to confirm here, you've got Jordan's and Sons. And look at this. I mean, this is a legal document, signed legal document. And they've stamped over the top of previous information. Well, that, you should not have that. It shouldn't happen. It's a legal document, been signed. And of course, they would know that. And here you can see it appears that the information is... oh, I don't know what's happening on my screen. Top there, you can see an address in Ferndown. That's not far away. And you've got companies, Housing Association, Director of Finance for Committee Member, East London Housing Association Limited. And at the top there, it looks as though it has been worn, potentially forged. Not too sure. That's not... I can't tell with that one, but most of them, or a lot of the time, you'll see that if there's a big section missing like that, I mean, you've got to ask, why is the writing visible, so visible, but the lines are gone? It's probably forged document. And on it, you've got Leicestershire Housing Association, because you now see all of these links. Okay, and of course, once there's one illegal entity company, and if it's being allowed to use forged bank documents to falsify its figures, I'm not saying that's happening with this one, then of course that then allows the ability for the laundering of money, tax evasion, but also to move if I'm not saying it's happened with this, but if there's been any money acquired in any criminal activity, then it allows that ability to launder the money through these companies into an illegal entity company, falsify the figures and send it elsewhere. But importantly, on this document, you can see you've got a company here. Again, it's based in Christchurch. It's 17 Russell Drive. This is very important. So this person has got an address, according to this, of 17 Russell Drive, Mudderford, Christchurch. And they're linked to Riversley No. 1 Management Company. Okay, 17 Russell Drive. And here it is, just a bit zoomed in. So when we search Riversley No. 1, it doesn't come up with a direct company. Okay, there's no direct result from that search. However, there are these companies, and this is very important. So if we go into the first one, which is similar in name, isn't it? But it's slightly different. Let's see what we get. Okay, for first, immediately I recognise the address at the bottom as having been used, I believe, in the fraud before, or in the research it's shown. And this was incorporated in 1971. And here we have a connection. So now we've got a different name, but the same address. Let me just check, is it a different name? Yeah, different name, okay. Same address, 17 Russell Drive. Here we go. So we now have a link, very clear link between that company, that last document, and this company, because it links through to the address. So let's look at this company more, Riversley. Now remember, this is the area close to where my company is. Okay. And we go into the people company, we've got this. Oh yeah, sorry, I've already got that back. Okay, now we've got another number in Russell Drive. What are the chances? What are the chances within the same company? Okay, another person. Oh, we've got another Russell Drive. Look at this. The whole street. Wow, they're all to do with this management company. What are the chances of that? What's the name of the... So the management company is Riversley Residence No. 1 Management Company. And now you've got multiple different... Look, Russell Drive, all in the same company. Russell Drive again, number 22, different number. Another one, Russell Drive, okay. Another one, oh my God, wow. Isn't that amazing? What are the chances? Appointed in January 2002. Sorry, I'm just looking. So look at the dates, are quite important, potentially. You got this one, September 2001. December 2002. Another Russell Drive, all in the same company. So we're just basically looking within the people record, and for you, you'll just be scrolling down. But because I've taken screenshots to show you, I'm flicking through it. Oh, now within that company, we've got someone from 7 Palmerston Avenue in Christchurch. Oh, and there's someone from 46 Palmerston Avenue. What are the chances? Oh, and 48? Wow, look at this. And 19. Wow, that's amazing. It's incredible, isn't it? 54 as well. 31, Palmerston. That one's in Highcliffe, though. Says Highcliffe. And 7. Wow. 25, Palmerston. Remember, there's no verification of any addresses or details whatsoever, so anyone can use false addresses, false names, false anything. The government have allowed that, and that avoids accountability and liability for any illegitimate activity. So we've gone into one of those people within that company now, who's a professor, according to this, of 19 Palmerston Avenue, and he links to Sovereign Housing. Now that is the same company that links before. So now we're looking at another Riversley. Okay, so now we've gone in Riversley number 1 again. I believe we've searched, and we've got Riversley phase. I'm terrible with my numeric Roman numbers. 5. I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Okay, Riversley, and immediately look at the address. Now, those of you that have looked at my other research will see that this address features frequently. That address links to my company. Okay, very, very quickly. And we'll have a look at that in a minute, I believe. But also on the incorporation documents, you've got ICC company formations at the bottom there. You've got an address. So it's declared in Cardiff. That's where Company's House is based. And researching ICC, just to show you that it then links back to Robert Maxwell. And of course, you've got the links to Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Max Clifford, all the way through, as you've seen with all of my documents and evidence. And that's an interesting company, because that actually then associates and links to a German publishing company that was started before World War One. And they dominated the world basically in educational foundations. They set up educational establishments right around the world, including book companies. Not that well. It also links to the London Youth Advisory Service, which featured in my child protection document and video, where I was researching the Isle of Wight. Okay, the child on the Isle of Wight. So now we have another connection. And also ICC links to, we've already mentioned Harriet Harman, who appeared to have an information, sorry, not her, but the company, National Council for Civil Liberties, and Patricia Hewitt had, through their company, had an affiliation with the Paedophile Information Exchange. And now we've got a connection through ICC to that research of Harman again. And it links to British Gas as well. And going back to Riversley, this is the company, Burns Property. Now, I've mentioned this in another video, when I wanted to view our bank documents whilst I was a director for the company, one director resigned, then our management company resigned, and 2 other directors soon after. This company was suggested, Burns was suggested, I believe, I'm trying to remember, I've got it written down somewhere, I think they were suggested as a company. But yeah, this address then links in through the fraud, through all the management companies around the area of mine, also to the Police and Crime Commissioner for the area. It links through Company's House very quickly. Back into this company now, and we've got this person, Dutch in nationality, according to this. Why have I put them? Must be a reason I put that, not too sure. This person, chartered engineer, is a doctor, and they link through to Pirelli, General Executive Pension Trustees, Pirelli Tyres. We've all heard of Pirelli Tyres, I believe. And if we go into that company, it dissolved. And it dissolved on the 12th of March 2024. Very, very recently. And you can see that it was incorporated in 2014. And if you go within the same person, okay, so now we're within the same person record, we now have Trump F Laser UK Limited of an address in Southampton. We go into Trump F Laser UK Limited, Trump F Laser UK Limited. We can see, look at the names at the bottom. So the original name was Alnery number. Again, that's a shell company creation. Alnery features throughout. You've got then it changed to Southampton Photonics, and then SPI, SPI, Lasers UK Limited. Now we've obviously we've got connections through to Ian Fleming, James Bond, MI6. They loved their lasers, didn't they? We've obviously got concerns of potential directed energy weapons. If you look at my other video on how we all got to this point, look at the document Silent Weapons of Quiet Wars. But on the incorporation document, you've got Allen and Overy. Again, is that Coleman Street? Allen and Overy. And back into Trump FLA, we've got this person. Right Honourable Viscount John Christian George Dornway. Probably got that name. Got that wrong. And they are connected to... so they were a director, I believe. Yeah, director for Aston Martin Owners Club. Very nice. They're also a director for Yorkshire Bank Limited. Remember, many banks are illegal entities. So this one should have a name of Yorkshire Bank Public Limited Company. They haven't, okay? So this is important. So they were established in, look at the dates at the bottom. Let me just zoom in on it so you know what I'm talking about. So they had a name when they were incorporated, according to this, of Yorkshire Bank Public Limited Company from 1911. So a very old company. Look at when they changed it, in October 2022. Remember, I started to report the fraud in July 2022. The chairman resigned when I wanted to look at the bank document. He actually got very angry at me. Resigned. Then the management company resigned. Then two other directors. Eventually, they kicked me off from the company. Of course, I'm going to not pay my service charges after all of this. So they tried holding a fake, fraudulent court process with documents that were not even, had no identifying marks on who identified any of the documents from the court. It was all fraudulent. When I asked the court why there was no name on the bottom, they refused to answer, basically. So I just didn't go to the court case, because I can't submit to a court case where there's an illegal entity company trying to take action. It's impossible. An illegal entity company cannot act in any way, shape or form. They are powerless because they're not lawfully registered. Okay? So that's not the reason I'm on the run. The reason I'm on the run is because I believe they would certainly, if they had the opportunity, murder me. But I'm not even worried. Well, I am worried about that. Of course I want to live. But I would obviously want to keep this going, want to keep the evidence going, the momentum of keeping this going, because it's such an incredible opportunity. And let's face it, our children are at risk. Our future is at risk. This is the most serious time we have ever faced, I believe. Probably, I'm not going to say the history of mankind, but for a very, very long time, let's face it. So anyway, Yorkshire Bank Public Limited, and it changed it after I reported the fraud to a different name, but the incorporation document is different. The Yorkshire, don't know what that says, but it certainly didn't have that name on the register. Okay, so you can see, and we've got Jordan and Sons Limited. Again, Chancery Lane. Remember, we had Chancery Lane earlier. Look at the different numbers again. So they're taking the addresses from these old company names, modifying them, changing them, and using them right throughout the fraud. So that's an illegal entity company, and that is Yorkshire Bank Limited. Okay. Back into the same person record now, Infodata Systems. Let's have a look at Infodata Systems. And York Data Systems Limited was their original name in 1980. And yeah, that's right. And you can see, this is a good example. So you can see the line in the top there. This box is there. That should nearly always be there. And if that's been removed, it's an indicator that it might be a fraudulent company. But I've mentioned this one because this name features throughout. Howard Thomas. There's various other documents I've done and research, and that name features throughout. So they use the same names as well. Back into Trump F. And we've got Doctor. Again, a doctor. Address in Southampton. Resigned in February 23. That's interesting. Okay, so they resigned from the company after I reported the fraud. Into that person, we've got Laser Quantum Limited. Address in Northamptonshire. Swift Incorporation, same company that started mine. We've got this person now is a professor. We're going to stop the video in a minute. IT Innovation Centres, lots of tech companies, okay. Digital Preservation Coalition, address in Southampton again. Southampton Innovations Limited, a dissolved company. That was interesting. Resigned in February 2001. Again, a computation company. So I'm just trying to show all these technology companies now linked from Trump F or whatever it's called. Back into Riversley now, and we've got Susan Roberts. And they're part of Brentstone Construction Limited. And this address here is the same address that was being used for our accountant, Carter and Coley. Okay, where they were appearing to be the ones using the forged bank documents to falsify our accounts. Okay, so the forged documents I had were acquired from the management company. They resigned. I then found out that one of the people in my company with surname of Fleming had a friend who was the accountant, Carter and Coley, and this was the address that they were using, 3 Durrant Road in Bournemouth. So now that links to my company. And back into this person, sorry, into the other people record, and we've got John Woodhouse. Not too sure why. Oh, I've put the address there because that address features. And we've also got this person again within Riversley with Hawthorne House, 1 Lowther Road. And within that person record, we've now got a Royal Yachting Company. Remember, there's yacht companies feature every now and then. And within Riversley again, we've got this. Is that the same person? No, different person. A doctor. And they link to Pirelli General Executive Pension Trustees. Back into that company, and you've got this Italian gentleman. And they go to a different Pirelli company, General and Overseas Pension Trustees. Now, same address though, Pirelli Tyres. Let's have a look at that company on the overview, on their incorporation. Yeah, I found this interesting. We've got somebody from Italy. Of course, there's no crime in this. Well, this bit we're talking about here. There's crime in the illegal entities. We've got someone in Switzerland. We've got someone in Britain. So don't forget, this is international fraud. Back into that person, we've got Pirelli General Executive Pensions, which dissolved. And look when they dissolved. March 2024. They're worried, guys. That's a 10-year-old company. And within this same person, we've got Novanta UK Investments. Within there, we've got this person in Poole, Dorset. Okay, that's not far from where my company is. And then you go into them, and that address, by the way, I believe that's been used throughout the fraud. I can't remember, actually. But we've got close links already. And now look at all these Oxford companies. Now, this is important because Oxford is where Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell lived. It's where a lot of the doctors went to study at the university there. Ghislaine Maxwell was, as I keep saying, a director for Oxford Football Club. And yeah, so there's a lot of connections to Oxford. So here's one example, Oxford Instruments Industrial Products. And you can see all the different company names they had. And you can see OYES Services is on that document. And they link to the fraud as well then. There's lots of connections to OYES. They link through to Max Clifford as well. And now into the company different person. They go to Oxford Instruments Nano Analysis Limited. Remember, we've got all this stuff about the technology within nanoparticles, metal particles to do with vaccines, stuff like. I'm not saying that's the case for this, but you'll see lots of companies like that in a minute. Oxford Instruments Overseas Holdings. We've now got overseas connection. Remember, we've got the overseas offshore islands. We've also got the offshore accounts being used to seemingly transfer funds through the Swift International Banking Transaction System, which is illegal in itself, an illegal entity. In fact, it was started with the same companies, Swift Incorporations and Jordan's. Now we've got Plasma Technology Limited, okay? Nanotechnology Tools Limited, Molecular Biotools Limited. I'm not even showing you all of it. Remember, this has come very close to my management company, Superconductivity Limited Company, Semicom, Nanotechnology Tools, Oxford Magnet Technology, Resonance Instruments, Consortium of European companies determined to use superconductivity. Wow, here we go. Let's look into that company. It's dissolved. It dissolved in 21 on their incorporation documents. They've got other companies linked, International Research and Development and Rolls-Royce. Remember, you'll see on my other videos, Rolls-Royce feature, make many of the connections through to the fraud and to the child trafficking connections. Oh, that's just showing it again. Back into Oxford Instrument Company. We've got the MS Therapy Centre, multiple sclerosis. Oh, just showing the same image. Now you'll find things like, we've got the whole thing with the cloud spraying going on at the moment. There's 2 pilots and there's a lot of suggestion that, I mean, they've said it's a depopulation event where they're cloud spraying the skies, a lot of the planes, and there's a suggestion there's barium and aluminium in there. There's a suggestion that in nanoparticle technology can enter the blood-brain barrier, go through the blood-brain barrier system, enter the brain and cause Alzheimer's. David Cameron was the president of the Alzheimer's company, Alzheimer's Research UK company. I think go and look at the research for David Cameron and you'll see. Many of the illnesses that are around the world, I believe, were deliberately introduced through all of this. That's a large claim to make, but there's some, I wouldn't be saying it if there wasn't evidence suggesting that. Oxford Instruments again, Kevin Bond. We've got Broomco linked through the fraud. That again, that is a shell company creation, thousands of those. Asylum Research now, so we're now into the asylum side of things, and this is important. Group 4 Security Monitoring Technologies number 1 Limited. This was one of the reasons I left the police unknowingly, is that the Chief Constable of Dorset Police, Condon at the time, he was connected to Group 4 Security and also to BAE Systems. Here is Group 4 Security Monitoring Technologies number 1 Limited, dissolved. It's a Broomco company, okay? So it was created as a shell company, and you've got 7-side on the incorporation document. I won't show it. Oh, I have showed it. Sorry, 7-side links to David Cameron. We've just mentioned David Cameron, and here we go. We've got David Cameron connection through to Lloyds Bank connection. So if you look at the David Cameron research, you'll see those connection, and also it links through to Connor Burns, and also to BAE Systems and Nicola Bully and Thales. Okay, Thales, directed energy weapons. Links to TMF Group and the World Trade Center disaster. Another company there, Group 4 Security Finance South. So back into the Oxford Instrument Company, we've got this person. Links to Hitachi High-Tech Analytical Science Limited. International, same person, links to International Nuclear Services Limited. Remember, we are not far away at all from Ricky Dearman. We are not far away at all from my company. We've got all of these links very, very quickly through. There's over 5 million companies. There's fraud throughout. Hopefully everyone's understanding how key this is. International Nuclear Services Limited. They used to be called BNFL Enrichment Limited. There's lots of evidence that others are coming forward suggesting that our governments are actually supporting international terrorism. BNFL Enrichment Limited, International Nuclear Fuels Limited. We go into that company. We've got John Hudson. And here we are, BAE Systems. Okay, so we've now got a connection very quickly to BAE Systems again. Look at all these BAE Systems companies again. Remember, directed energy weapons. They were creating it. It's publicised now. BAE and Thales. There's evidence to suggest it is within the technology of the 5G. This is a Canadian company. So you've got Canada. BAE Systems Projects Canada Limited. So this affects right around the world. There's 5G right around the world now. I've spoken to people right around the world. They've confirmed they're there. They're up in Australia, Canada. BAE Systems. Another company, Pacific Nuclear Transport Limited now. This is Pacific Nuclear Transport Limited in Cumbria. And they are at the bottom there, Sea and Coastal Freight Water Transport. Now, there was no incorporation document, but I found through the Memorandum of Articles, if we go into it, it's got this Pacific Nuclear Transport Limited. Why did I put that? Bear with me. Yeah, that's why. So, yeah, this is correct on this document, but when you go to the bottom of the document, the name is the same as for Swift Incorporations Limited, Michael Richard Council. That's never been registered with Swift Incorporations. The address that's used there is almost similar. They're using different addresses in Pembroke, again, but that name, Michael Richard Council, is on the Swift Incorporations document. And here's showing you the proof. Michael Richard Council, Swift Incorporations Limited, the same company that started my company, okay, along with Jordan's Limited, an illegal entity company.